Welcome to another edition of Messianic Moments. The title of today's message is, I know I'm imperfect, but God loves imperfect people like me just the same. That very concept, that God loves imperfect people, is one of our fundamental beliefs. This belief is rooted in the idea that God's love is unconditional, all-encompassing, and transformative. Despite our flaws, despite our failures and mistakes, God's love remains constant and steadfast. To understand the concept of God's love for imperfect people, it is important to first consider what it means to be imperfect. Imperfection is a universal human experience, and no one is exempt from its effects. We all make mistakes. We all fall short of our ideals. We all struggle with our weaknesses and limitations. Imperfection is a part of the human condition, and it's inescapable. Imperfection is often associated with the idea of sin. Sin is understood as any thought or word or deed that separates us from God and disrupts our relationship with others. It's a failure to live up to the moral standards set by God, and it results in guilt, shame, and a sense of estrangement from God. Sin is not just about individual actions, but also about a state of being that's characterized by selfishness, pride, and disobedience. Despite our imperfections and sinfulness, we believe that God loves us unconditionally. This love is not based on our merit or goodness, but on God's inherent nature as a loving and merciful God. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's love for imperfect people. Moses was a murderer. David was a murderer and committed adultery. Abraham was a liar, just to name a few. One of the most famous examples is the story of the prodigal son. In this parable, Yeshua tells the story of a son who squanders his inheritance and lives a life of debauchery. When he eventually comes to his senses and returns to his father, instead of being met with anger and condemnation, he's welcomed with open arms and a feast. The story illustrates the depths of God's love and forgiveness for those who have strayed from him. Another example is the story of the woman caught in adultery. When the religious leaders bring her before Yeshua and demand that she be stoned, Yeshua responds with compassion and forgiveness. He tells her, "Go and sin no more," demonstrating his willingness to forgive her and to give her a second chance. These stories reveal that God's love is not contingent on our perfection, but on his grace and mercy. God does not love us because we're perfect, but because he is perfect. His love for us is unconditional and unwavering, and it's not diminished by our failures and shortcomings. The belief that God loves imperfect people has important implications for how we view ourselves. It challenges the idea that our worth is based on our performance, achievements, or outward appearance. Instead, it affirms that our worth is intrinsic and unchanging, rooted in the fact that we are beloved children of God. This belief also challenges our tendency to judge ourselves harshly and hold ourselves to impossibly high standards. It reminds us that we're all flawed and in need of God's grace and forgiveness. It encourages us to be a kinder and more compassionate people, recognizing that we are doing the best we can in a world that is full of challenges and temptations. Furthermore, The belief that God loves imperfect people calls us to extend that same love and grace to others. If God can love us, despite our flaws, despite our mistakes, then we're called to love others in the same way. This means showing kindness, understanding, mercy, and forgiveness to those who have hurt us or wronged us. It means seeing beyond their faults and shortcomings to the image of God that is present in each person. The belief that God loves imperfect people is a powerful and transformative idea that lies at the heart of what we believe. It challenges us to see ourselves and others not as perfect beings, but as beloved children of God who are in need of grace and forgiveness. It calls us to embrace our imperfections and mistakes with humility and to extend love and compassion to others in their imperfections as well. Ultimately, this belief reminds us of the depth and breadth of God's love for us, and it offers us hope and redemption in a world that is often marked by brokenness and despair. This has been another Messianic Moments. God bless you all. Until next time, shalom, shalom.
To the house of the risen sun. House of the risen